Do we have music or?
Yes, peace and harmony. Oh, can you hear? And can you hear? We'll all be singing for joy in peace and harmony. Yes, peace and harmony. Peace and harmony.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome. My name is Julie Enzer, and I am propped in a hotel room in Oxford, Mississippi. And so you don't see the nice backdrop of books, nor do you quite see my whole face. I'm trying to get adjusted for this evening's event. I just got into town. But thank you so much for coming and joining us this evening. As I said, I'm Julie Enzer. I'm the editor and publisher of Sinister Wisdom, a multicultural lesbian literary and arts journal that we are celebrating our 50 years this year. And for 50 years, we've uplifted the breadth of lesbian lives, creativity, and resistance. It is an incredible joy to celebrate these milestones of 50 years across distance and decades of fierce and luminous publishing. And we are so excited to honor this evening another sister journal marking its 50th anniversary. This evening, we will be talking about and hearing readings from contributors to the feminist journal CAYLX. You will hear from Ellen Bass, Rita Mukherjee, Laura Foley, Amy Schutzer, and Allison Clement. But before we begin our full program, we do, as you all know, have a little bit of business to talk about in advance, our land acknowledgement, a word about Sinister Wisdom, and some of our Zoom norms. We take a moment at the beginning of our Sinister Wisdom programs to acknowledge that we gather across many homelands. This evening, as I said, I'm in Oxford, Mississippi, on the ancestral and unceded lands of the Chickasaw Indian Nation. I honor their sovereignty and the ongoing struggles of Indigenous peoples across this colonized Turtle Island. If you feel called, I invite you to share in the chat the land you are joining us from. Naming the places that holds us grounds our gathering across many homelands and reminds us that our worlds travel through real landscapes and herstories. Feminist literary work, like that nurtured by CALYX Press, emerges from place, community, and the relationships that steward mental and spatial roots. For those of you joining us for the first time, Sinister Wisdom has been publishing since 1976, and we are now marking 50 years of feminist and lesbian literary work in the world. Our work at Sinister Wisdom is a collective effort, a labor of love, resistance, and intergenerational connection carried forward by many hands. We are deeply grateful to the readers, subscribers, and sustaining supporters whose commitment allow us to continue archiving, distributing, and uplifting the breadth of lesbian and queer creativity. If you are not already a subscriber, I encourage you to sign up today by going to sinisterwisdom.org/subscribe. In addition, a group of monthly sustainers is vital to Sinister Wisdom. If you can give monthly, we so appreciate sustainers and invite you to sign up at sinisterwisdom.org/sustainers. We send out a monthly email every month when your gift comes with behind the scenes details and new information about what we have coming from Sinister Wisdom. Now for some housekeeping notes. We are recording this event this evening and we'll make it available starting tomorrow or Thursday at sinisterwisdom.org/SW39. I'm sorry, that's SW139, our current issue. I also have a quick preview of the new issue for at the end of our program. Please keep your microphone muted throughout the program unless you're invited to speak. If we detect noise from you, we will mute you, not because we don't love you, but because we want everyone to be able to hear. As the program proceeds, everyone is invited to engage in the chat. If you want to show appreciation for readers, you are welcome to wave your hands at the end of each reading and use the reaction emojis on Zoom. If you need technical assistance, you can chat with Max or Mel, both of whom are on tap for tech assistance this evening. Those are my announcements. I'm taking a deep breath. I'm so happy to be here with you all this evening. So, our event tonight is kind of in two parts. We're going to start out by talking a little bit about CALYX and be in conversation with Anne Craig, the acting president of the CALYX board, and Brenna Crotty, the managing editor of CALYX. We are so excited to talk about CALYX's past, present, and what they envision for the future as a way to help mark their 50th anniversary. So now I invite Brenna and Anne to join me. Anne, oh yes, Anne has made it in as well. Hi, Anne. How are you this evening?
Hi, good. Happy
Good.
to be
And
here.
hi, Brenna. How are you?
Hi, doing well.
Great. So we're going to talk just for about 10 minutes or so here to give, and I want to first start out by asking each of you to introduce yourself, what you're doing at CALYX, and so that we can know you both a little better.
I'll go ahead and start. I'm
Go
Brenna
ahead.
Crotty. I'm the senior editor at CALYX. I made the mistake in 2012 of being an intern at CALYX and offering to do anything that wasn't being done. So now I do most of the things involving like the editorial process at CALYX. So um, I run the readings and the selection material, the editorial collectives, and I paginate and copy edit and proof the journals. So we have the biannual journal of poetry, prose, visual art, interviews, and reviews. And because I am shamelessly self-promoting today, I'm going to drop the most recent. This is our 50th anniversary issue that just came out. Thank you. In on our 50th birthday on March 11th.
Great. Thank you, Brenna. And Anne, tell us about your role at CALYX.
Sure. I'm Anne Craig, and I am the acting board chair. I'm pretty new. I have no real herstory with CALYX other than a fan, and I really joined the board. Maybe I'm in the early stages of Brenna 2012 that I like. I'm here to help in whatever way I can. Just kind of really leaning into servant leadership style and asking where can I step in to help. I will also add that my daughter, Emerson, is a board member, and that's really kind of how I found my way. And she's also on the collective, so she's been involved for a while, and I guess that's where I've kind of followed her here.
Excellent. Excellent. Brenda, will you give us a little bit of the history of CALYX?
Yes, I will try to limit myself. As CALYX obviously has a very long and storied history. So CALYX was formed it wasn't formed on March 11th, 1976, but they needed a date for like the signing. And Margarita was like, oh, it's my birthday that day. So it'll be CALYX's birthday too, which tells you everything you need to know about one of our four founders, Margarita Donnelly, who was a memoirist and filmmaker and just the staunchest advocate for queer and feminist art. She would just go up to you and put a book in your face and be like, are you a feminist? You are now. This is happening. Support the arts. And she was incredible. We lost her, unfortunately, to cancer in 2014. But there were three other founders as well. We had Barbara Baldwin, who was a poet. We had Elizabeth McClagan, who was a poet, and Meredith Jenkins, who was a visual artist and who also unfortunately passed away last month to brain cancer. Elizabeth McClagan is still with us. The other three founders have unfortunately passed away. But their vision was for, let's get rid of the inequality in publishing. The numbers were abysmal in editing and publishing. And they said, we're not seeing women's stories. And they started out as well, they tried to do 3 issues a year, which is why our numbering is for 3 issues a year. They learned very quickly that was difficult to do, even with the sort of smaller saddle stitch early zine look. But it was really quality stuff. So it got moving really fast. And it started as a Pacific Northwest journal. And very quickly they started getting people mailing in things from the East Coast. They had Sharon Olds, and I think it was 1977, sent in the language of the brag. So, very quickly they started finding those connections with Bell Hooks, with Ursula K. Le Guin, just like really cool community networking. And so it very quickly became an international journal, published the first Frida Kahlo works in color in the United States, which was a pretty cool thing to have on your shelf, I guess. And so it expanded, but they faced a lot of resistance. Barbara Baldwin told a story about going to Powell's, which is the big independent bookstore in Portland, and she was trying to get them to stock it. And the guy looked at it and he went, "Oh, you wrote a poem and you put it in a book." And like, that's the kind of nonsense that CALYX has faced for a lot of its history. And they were very optimistic at first. It was like, 5, 10 years, we'll fix sexism, we'll fix this patriarchal misogyny, and then we will close our doors and we'll be done. Mission accomplished. That, George W. Bush, mission accomplished banner. And so 50 years is kind of bittersweet. It's an accomplishment, and it's also an indictment of the world we live in, and a sign of how far we still have to go.
Right. Thank you, Brenna. Will you also tell folks a little bit about the book publishing that CALYX has done at different times? I think of it at different times in the life of the journal.
This is an accurate portrayal of CALYX's books. It started in the 80s, and it officially closed its doors in 2011, and then kind of has picked back up a couple of times. We published Sybil James's The Mother of Invention, which was a children's book aimed at STEM, like little girls, and to encourage them to be, or in STEAM, I guess. And we published Barbara Baldwin's collection of poetry posthumously in 2016. So we're always kind of looking toward the future of like, when can CALYX publish more books? Our biggest book obviously was Into the Forest by Jean Hagelin. That book has had like 3 or 4 different lives. It got huge in France. They have like a graphic novel there of it. They're publishing her the sequel to her book in French before it's been published in English, and it was turned into a movie with Elliot Page and Evan Rachel Wood, which was also pretty neat. So that was maybe our most commercially successful piece, but we've had probably 2 or 3 dozen books over the course of decades, including Amy's Undertow. And yeah, I mean, I recognize I'm on a limited time. Don't let me loose, Julie.
No. I mean, I think part of why I wanted to ask that question, I think one of the reasons why it's so important is like, this is one of the things that feminist organizations do for us, is allow us to create different opportunities at different times when things are right and line up. I mean, I remember reading Into the Forest when it came out, and then I remember when CALYX was like not publishing books as much in 2011, but always holding on to that hope, right? That as long as the organization is there, there's a whole future possibility of what might be able to be done. So I wanted to lift that up and appreciate that. And I wanted to bring you in and ask you, how do you tell people about CALYX today and why it continues to be relevant?
I love that question because I think that's what I thought a lot about when I was like, okay, well, so what's the mission? And if you're looking at numbers, you could say, well, the numbers look a lot better, right? There are a lot more women authors than there were 50
Mhm.
years ago. Um, but I dug a little deeper and I went, okay, are they winning the number of awards? Are they being respected? Are they being recognized as women's voice? And then realizing that there feels to me a need for feminism and women's voices more now than I would have answered that question 5, 10, 20 years ago, even maybe, in my lifetime. I'm kind of like feeling like, whoa. So um, I'm excited that I think 50 years means yes, there's this glorious past, and I love that history for CALYX. And I'm also excited about what that means for young women. I think that's why I like this for my daughter and I together, is like, what does this mean for the next generation, and how does CALYX um, kind of refresh and renew itself for the next 50 years. So I don't know what that holds. I don't think anybody does right now. But I'm excited to see what happens.
Do either of you have a pithy response to people who doubt the need for feminist media at this moment?
Yes.
Oh,
Go on Reddit for 15 seconds and you will see how necessary CALYX is. I'm not joking. Like, there is a very strong and organized push toward trad wife nonsense, toward taking away like financial independence and voices from women, to shout them down and to make them feel small and to make them feel uninformed and to take up space. And CALYX and Sinister Wisdom take up space in a way that is not convenient. It is not a traditional narrative of like the perfect victim or the perfect hero or the woman role who was written to be a man, and then you just gender swap it so that it doesn't look quite as sexist, but it still doesn't come across as authentic or honest. Like, we are talking about narratives that are not welcome in a lot of places, and maybe we get, I don't know, like labeled as like niche or something because yes, we have a lot of poems about menstruation and we have a lot of stories about abortion, but show me the other places where people are publishing risky work that actually speaks to people's experiences, and we'll close our doors. You know what I mean? Like, we're pretending there's this boss bitch fourth wave feminism AI slop that I cannot abide, that is just like, girls rule the world. And it's like, well, we'd like to if we could actually take concrete steps to do something about the world we live in. But putting a happy label on it hasn't changed as much as we want it to. And that is why we are still here.
that's fantastic to hear. Thank you. So, would you each tell us to just close this session, this section of our evening tonight? What's one dream or scheme that you have in your mind for CALYX over the next couple of years? Anne, do you want to start?
Um, oh, okay. Um, I mean, in the next couple of years, I want to see. I feel like I'm not qualified. So excuse me if I'm stuttering, but I guess speaking personally, I'd really like to see m more readers, more ears, not just more voices, but more ears. I'd really like to see it catch fire and pick up in its subscribers and just be visible everywhere. I guess that's really kind of the big thought that I would like to see happen.
That's great. And I'll hold up the current issue again. And Mel or Max, would you drop into the chat the link for how people can subscribe to CALYX if they're not currently subscribing? 2 issues a year. They're gorgeous. And I'm always jealous every time I look at them because you all have full color artwork. Which we've never been able to figure out how to do at Sinister Wisdom. So it's beautiful. And every time an issue comes, I'm so excited and I sit down with it right away to read it. So, and yes, we just put the subscribe in the chat. So that's fantastic, Anne. It sounds like, you say that you didn't know what to say, but you had the perfect response. Whereas I might say, like, our goal at Sinister Wisdom is we need to have new bylaws, which is incredibly boring. You guys have great vision. Brenna, what's your one thing that that you're scheming and dreaming for the next few years?
It's always to increase our diversity. Like, for all that we are an international journal, we are still very much a middle-class white woman in the Pacific Northwest primarily, and we're entirely volunteer, which makes it kind of hard to be like, like, hey, come work with us and do a bunch of free labor. But like about 10 years ago, we started being like, hey, we need to more consciously welcome in non-binary writers and artists and trans women and make it clear that this is not about excluding people, but about highlighting marginalized voices and being a safe and respectful community and platform for those voices. And I feel like we still have some work to do for getting more women of color onto our collectives and to getting just more diverse voices, because otherwise you just publish the same stuff and you don't know what you're missing. And so I really want anyone who's excited about CALYX to reach out and see, if you want to come read with us, if you want to come, sort of work up to being on a collective, if if you're in the Pacific Northwest and you want to come check out our awesome offices and volunteer, we we really encourage it. We don't have much of that ivory tower feel. It's very much people are here because they're passionate about it, and we just want more of that.
Fantastic. Thank you both so much, Anne Craig and Brenna Crotty. Thank you for both talking to us tonight, for your leadership, for your ongoing commitment to keeping CALYX alive and a vital voice for feminism. Now we're going to hear from some of your contributors, and so that the audience really can get a taste, a little tiny taste of the great work that is published in CALYX in the twice a year issues. So we are going to begin this evening with a reading from Amy Schutzer. Amy is a poet and fiction writer who lives in Portland, Oregon. And tonight we're grateful to have her voice as a part of this gathering. Amy.
Thank you so much, and congratulations, CALYX and Sinister Wisdom, for 50 years of publishing fierce, feminist, fabulous women writers and artists. It's an honor to be part of this event tonight. I'm going to start off my reading with a poem titled Late Early. There's scant snow on the flank of the mountain. Another cloud bank comes and goes, dips its breath to the earth. The too early bulbs mob the yard in an avalanche of crocus and daffodils. First frost arrived months late, and a forest of arugula overtakes the garden beds. Even the celery fattens its stalks through the skimpy winter, another climate warming record, and the volunteers accrue. An uprising of California poppies and calendula, no matter that it's the beginning of February, the broodiest of months. Under this hood of resolute blue, the mountain bares its shoulders, and in the still going lettuces, the slugs pillage, extend their soft, plant filled bodies as I bend to the task, take up my knife, and begin. Infinite space. I am losing my hearing. The robin doesn't care that I am listening hard as it rummages through the oak trees and outbursts of buttercups. The light on the hill, a deep orange rouge my mother would not have worn. Whatever the robin is singing, it is without answer, or one I cannot hear. By the time I cup my ear, the song is done. Evening arrives in her darkening blue, then black strapless dress. Too early for stars in the infinite space which my mother has become, inaudible, unreachable, a wash of unformed matter in the cleavage of nothingness. Daisies. Darling, those days rain came unbidden, then hurriedly left, and the sun in a steamy bloom plumped the unfurling daisies. Oh, daisies, the hillsides in love with you, love, a deluge, and what can I do but pluck a few petals and combust in the thought of you? If consulted, I'd come back an oak tree on the plateau before the bluff on the downhill side where runoff seeps, tucked inside the crook of a long ago fallen limb to grow across the century, close to the other oaks in their huddles and sun-soaked assemblies. Why not a human, you ask? No, not interested in the ungovernable plundering and ruin. Better to harbor moss and lichen, and underground join the festivals of mycelium, and in my crown the flux of wind, where I'd withstand or break and repair with what's at hand, knots and burls and sap-filled holes. And my last poem is titled, Today I'm a Big Dumb Animal. Today I'm a big dumb animal, plodding with my heart full of woe and wrong-headedness. In the meadow, I hug the fence line and stall. On occasion, I bend to the bee balm and wallow in the pollen. I have waited out lightning in the middle of the field and stood among the stinging nettles. I've seen stars flock each night and repeat verbatim their stories through the muddle of dark with no one else to say I'm wrong in my interpretation. And every morning I hitch myself to the day-long day and worry myself in clover. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. That was so lovely. Worry myself in clover, I'm going to hold on to for the rest of the evening.
Thank you.
Next, I would like to welcome Allison Clement. Allison is the author of 20 Questions, which won the Oregon Book Award for Best Novel. Please join me in welcoming Allison.
Thank you. I am going to read a brief excerpt from an as yet unpublished novel. The novel is set in 1974 on a Greyhound bus traveling from Madison, Wisconsin to rural Illinois. Stevie wasn't moving to Madison, but she wanted to go somewhere. She wanted to start over and be someone new. Matthew Bird had joined the Marines to get away, but that was a mistake. Greta Gillespie had gone to Las Vegas to work in a casino, and for the longest time, Stevie had imagined her as a showgirl with feathers and sequins and long legs, but really she worked the blackjack table and gotten pregnant and moved to Alabama. Alabama seemed out of the blue, but what did Stevie know? The point was that getting out wasn't necessarily any better than staying put. She looked out at the fields and pretended she'd never been to the Midwest before, where sometimes there were pigs or cows along the road and fields of crops and round silos for grain. She pretended she was an artist from New York, and she'd never seen the likes of this. She pretended she was a friend of Andy Warhol. Andy, she told him, that movie of yours was just awful. She pretended she had a lover in one of these little towns. She pretended she wasn't in the Midwest. She was a Cajun girl going back to Louisiana. Stevie liked the name Louisiana, and she liked the idea of Cajuns, even if she had turned against the Catholics. She wanted to go someplace hot. She could take the heat. She liked chili peppers. She didn't complain about humidity. She liked to sweat. I belong in a place with alligators, she thought. And while she sat on the bus naming all those things, she looked out at the flat, lonely prairie and was swept with a terrible ache that might have been homesickness, only it was for a place she'd never been. As they got close to town, everything became familiar. She thought of the wrecks that happened on this road, the prom night head-on collision, the rollover, the motorcycle crash. They drove past Apple Hill, where she swam in the summer. Up ahead was the O'Hara stable with its Appaloosas, who liked to stand by the fence with their big faces watching. The Appaloosas came from Indian horses, bred by the Nez Perce from horses left here by the Spanish. Keith liked to say they were probably originated in France. The first images of spotted horses were found in ancient caves in western France, and one day he was going there to see them for himself. Imagine it, Stevie. Her memories of Keith were often nicer than actually being with him. After France, the horses had gone to Spain, and then to the Nez Perce, out in the mountains of Oregon and Idaho. You could draw a line from those horses all the way back in time, but the settlers came and the army confiscated them and ran those beautiful horses off cliffs. They did it out of hate, out of wanting to kill not only the Indians, but also the things they loved. It was, Stevie thought, pure evil. Evil so terrible it was almost forgotten by white people now, because after all, who would want such shitty ancestors? But the Indians, they'd say, like it was all brave and noble. Lucky for the horses, though, some of the men whose job it was to send them off the cliffs were horsemen themselves, and they sneaked some of those horses away. The rescued horses got bred to their own horses, quarter horses probably, and from that, they got the Appaloosa. Keith had told her that story. You can have a line that goes on forever, and then one link gets cut and it's over. The eradication is complete. Nothing is left of the species or the people or the knowledge or memory of the place, and it disappears forever. Every Appaloosa is a remnant, she thought, something that got saved, something that remains after the rest of it is gone. So I decided on that excerpt because I was thinking about, well, I was thinking about Margarita, and I was thinking about stories and how stories are kind of a thread that goes on, right? And that we live in a time where we're seeing so much loss, and that stories are a way for us to name things and to preserve and even to imagine new things, right? So stories are such an important part of being alive right now, and it's the work that you do is so essential, CALYX, and thank you for including me in it. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Allison. It was a delight to hear you read. I do want to emphasize to folks that I'm giving just the shortest bio so that we can spend the longest time listening to people reading. And we are dropping longer bios in the chat so that people can find people's published books and other work. Now I'm like a head without a mouth. Our next reader is Laura Foley. Laura's new collection, It's This, is forthcoming from Salmon Press, and I'm pleased to welcome Laura to read for us this evening.
Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here, and thank you, CALYX and Sinister Wisdom. I'm actually going to be reading, that bio is a little bit old. I'm going to be reading from my new book, which is coming out in April, which is called Sister in a Different Movie, and the publisher is Sheila Nagig. And it's dedicated to a sister of mine who died 3 years ago. Small certainties. I was lucky, born fourth of 4 girls, so Dad had a little more time to get over the war. Even so, at the dining table, glittering with candles, platters of roast beef, potatoes, green beans, always the talk of starvation, water torture. He had endured 4 winters in prison in China, worked in a salt mine. I felt proud of him, though terribly shy, and would slip away to my room. Still, I was lucky. I didn't see the worms one sister imagined wriggling in the rugs, didn't leap from a window onto barbed wire as another sister did, but learned instead to seek joy in the smallest ways, lining up my toy cats, small, bright certainties in a world still trembling from what came before. Sister in the Old Country, about a trip to Ireland when I was 16. Wicklow Road, County Cavan, 16. I visit Nanny Mrs. D's sister, who at 75 still rides a bike, wears a pink flowered dress I recognize as a hand-me-down from Mom. We sit in the kitchen, a circle of women on metal chairs, Christ smiling from the wall despite his bleeding heart. She says the rosary, and we repeat, "Blessed is the fruit, full of grace, thy womb." Crones' voices droning like ancient druids, echoing in the linoleum tiled room. Aromas of puddings, soda bread, baking, mouth-watering odor of onions, eggs, mutton, tomatoes fried in fat. Faces like pale stones, hardened, weather-worn. Outside, the acrid smell of burning peat, damp earth and salt air, the sacred encircling sea. Coming out to my sister. My sister, the aloof one, wasn't that day. She took my arm, led me through Georgetown, sunlight on brick sidewalks, into a small boutique where we found clothes soft as permission. I chose a black silk cape, delicate women stitched across the back, a garment that felt like stepping into myself. For a little while, she smiled at me, held clothes to my shoulders, wanting to see who I might become. Many years now, she hasn't called, doesn't answer emails, has slipped again into distance, into silence. But the cape still hangs in my closet, light as breath, reminding me of the one day we were gentle with each other. This one is for my wife, Clara. Jumble. I lack the words to evoke 5 o'clock emptiness. No aromas of garlic, no paprika, no sweetness of flan tempting my nose, no tomatoes fried in finest olive oil to slick my tongue, like the Spanish syllables she needs to hear spoken in Madrid's highlands, where her siblings and 90-year-old mother have missed her. But what's the use my searching for words? By the time I finish this, she'll be home, where she's meant to be, with me, her boots a cozy jumble by our door, spooning my shoes. And the book is dedicated to my sister who died, whose name was Claire. A gated community. Claire loved the security of the guard and the gate lifting for her car, keeping her safe. Until the night she immersed in a hot bath and her heart seized. She sank down, drowned, the water still running from the taps, water overflowing the tub, seeping under the door, soaking the rug, water deepening for 2 weeks, until it wept through the neighbor's wall. Then came police breaking the locked door of her life, finding she'd escaped to a place beyond water where she'll always feel safe. My sister, who loved real estate, at peace beyond the gates. And thank you. I love all the hearts and stuff. I'll end with this one, which is called Claire. How my sister lived alone in Texas and died alone in her bathtub. How I received the call, not having seen her in 40 years. How her neighbors described her as odd, with long gray hair, stuns me with an ache I can't undo. How she bequeathed me a future I live in now, a seaside house where I sit, warms me, looking into the dark night at ghosts of snow whipped up by the wind, as a round moon lifts in the black sky, a December brightness I know is Claire. Clear as her name, this light, this wide moon shining down on all of us. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Laura. That was beautiful. And thank you for sharing a little piece of your sister with us all this evening. We're going to have a brief pause here at the bottom of the hour. We have a beautiful video that covers some of CALYX's history that I was supposed to queue up earlier in our time together and completely overlooked. And so I want to show it now because I think it really helps lift up and celebrate the work of CALYX. So Max is going to queue up that video and show it to us now, and then we'll come back and hear from our final two readers. Max.
The woman in your life will do what she must do to comfort you and calm you down and let you rest now. The woman in your life, she can rest so easily. She knows everything you do because the woman in your life is you. The woman in your life knows simply what is true. She knows a simple way to touch to make you whole now. The woman in your life, she can touch so easily. She knows everything you do because the woman in your life is you. And who knows more about your story, about your struggles in the world? Who cares more to bless your weary shoulders than the woman in your life? She's trying to come through, a woman's voice with messages, a woman's feelings. The woman in your life, she can feel so easily. She knows everything you do because the woman in your life is you. And who is sure to give you courage? Who will surely make you strong? Who will bear the joy that is coming to you? If not the woman in your life, she's someone to pursue. She's patient and she's waiting and she'll take you home now.
Thank you so much. I want to thank Deborah Palmer, who put together who provided all of the images for us to make that video. And also Deborah was the instigator of this event this evening. And I'm so grateful to you, Deborah. And thank you to Mel Oliver, one of our producers for our Sinister Wisdom events, for creating the video. Our next reader is Rita Mukherjee. Rita is the author of most recently Banana Heart. Please join me in welcoming Rita Mukherjee.
Hi, good evening. Thank you so much for that warm introduction. What a fabulous evening. What a fabulous group of humans. I have the unique pleasure of saying I'm a lifelong CALYX reader, and it's so exciting to be part of a collective and a network and a community that mirrors what I wanted to do with my life when I was a child. So I appreciate you all for being here. Thank you for making time for poetry and literature. Don't let the title of this next poem throw you off. This is Men. Are the sort of people who chisel butter from its block and with a short, blunt knife pummel it back and forth across a bready path until only its stain is left. It never occurs to them to cut off a clean square and heat it for a moment. That butter melts, simply asking to be poured. By the way, I'm reading to you from my book, Banana Heart, which you can purchase anywhere books are sold. I recommend bookshop.org. That's definitely my favorite. Let's see. This is a strange time to be American And this is one of my many poems punctuating that sentiment. This is Nocturne with Helium Balloons Lost on the Denver Airport Ceiling. Clustered tightly, the balloons look like baby fruit bats hiding from everything outside, like the cursed statue of that demonic blue horse, the true symbol of America, trillion cut ruby eyes mocking our pain. American life is about picking your poison. We accept the reality that something, somewhere, someone is going to get you. Maybe sinkholes, the IRS, carbon monoxide, the KKK, or even just the wind, which might be what swept all these wild balloons into a peak of the airport ceiling, which is billowy and sloped like a circus tent. A fitting venue. Because what is late capitalism and commerce, if not high theater? I want to go home. I stare at the balloons. Their loud candy colors are nothing like the milky sunset we watch from an airport platform lined in fake grass for dogs to pee on. Honestly, the strips of faux turf look much nicer than any of the planes right now, with their poisonous runoff and apologetic yellow grass. In recent years, Colorado has been catching fire. You can spot the burnt patch in the shadow of the Rockies. I watched the coastline turn to mush while landfills become castles of filth. It's been years since I felt like I had any connection to this land, which I now see was never mine to claim. I confess, I have no interest in canyons. The famed amber waves of grain are tainted and sour. Even the most majestic mountains sloped and soften with age. Gray, not purple. Besides, I prefer the sloping shoulders of my Appalachian train, rich with Douglas firs and boysenberry bushes, at least for now. When they're gone, I want to sail away on a convincing breeze, just like one of the lost balloons, pink with optimism. I always thought the collapse of this empire would be blue flames and glorious wreckage and bandanas and chanting, but now that I cut America open, all I really find is hot air. It's so fun to see on Zoom. I'm never performing on Zoom, and it's so fun to see all the emojis popping up. How delightful is that? Okay, one more from Banana Heart, and then I'm going to read you two brand new pieces. And thank you for all the love. This is Ode to Bathroom Mirror Altars I've built for myself. I'm moving back east to a basement studio that barely holds my furniture, but you know what? It's got a closet just for my makeup. The bathroom lighting is exquisite. I know it's hardly an upgrade, but the planet is on fire. I'd rather stay inside, loving myself at the medicine cabinet, glowing tears of glass potions and indulgences, and there I am, the patron saint of queer brown femmes, in my cold sepulcher, painting myself to life so I can stomp into the day and silently tell the world not to fuck with me. My eyebrows are Disney villain pointy for a reason. I can do them on the train. Forget a mirror. My hands are steady like a baseline from all my practice in foggy compacts and bumpy bus rides. Listen, I'm downsizing. I leave my small vanity near the alleyway, its surface scuffed by bobby pins and blunts rolled in pink paper from acrylic towers of mocha lipsticks less than half a shade apart. I'll miss my vanity, but I don't need it. No one can tell if you get ready, curved over a single stall sink with a spiderweb mirror, or if you beat your face beatified in ring light flanked by cherry perfect studio bulbs sitting in a wingback chair in tufted blush velvet. This is about the finished product. Big reveals with feather fans shimmying. I silently thank my vanity for its service, but it was never made for a gay millennial femme. A woman says to me, "Oh, you'll outgrow all of that." But I know the truth. To me, every painted lash line is a landscape. Every brushstroke on my face is an ancient ritual in repetition. So next time I'm flush with Cass, I'm buying booze, lights, and more lipstick. I'm going out screaming in full glam. Oh, thank you. So kind. I wish we were all together. That's the only way this could be any more fabulous. I I know a lot of y'all are definitely going to relate to this and feel me. I'm really tired of like safe queer poetry. Like I think right now it's very fashionable to be queer, but you have to be queer on their terms, right? Um, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear the safe queer poems, and that's what I love about so many of the pieces I heard tonight. Is that they're just like, we're here. There's nothing you can do about it. Um, in that spirit, here's soliloquy against becoming a brown trophy wife. It's true. I will be the only Indian person at your firm's Christmas fete, but trust and believe I can talk Loire varietals with even your snootiest colleagues. Femmes like me are just here to dress up the wedding pics, all red and rose and gold. Your parents just love my biryani, my aloo sabzi, and who could blame them? What's not to love? I bring just enough color to the table without having a funny accent or a funny god or a first name with too many consonants. You'd love to catch me like a wild thing, put me in an orb of glitter like a carved souvenir from Mumbai, and set the stage, set the table, let me entertain your guests, and I can really entertain your guests. Here's the thing, I lied about knowing Priscilla from yoga class. I know Priscilla because I fucked her in the backseat of her Lexus, and men like you always say you'd love to watch, but really, you end up sulking in damp Armani when femmes get wrapped up in femmes. The thing about trophies is you can't take us anywhere. There's no shelf big enough to hold me. Thank you. What a wonderful audience. Final piece. This is a very new poem about my local drag and burlesque community, of whom I'm very fond. I haven't been telling people this because I was always discouraged from doing it when I was still in my doctoral program. But once I became a professor, I started dancing burlesque again. Everyone was like, don't do it. You'll never have a career as a professor. Okay, well, here I am, proven wrong. And so it's really nice to be back in those scenes and to be able to blend my writing with other art forms that I love. Again, thank you so much for being here with us tonight, and congratulations to Sinister Wisdom and CALYX. This is Drag Less Prayer for the gays and theys that backstage at the gig. To call our time anything but dark would be a lie. But this poses no threat to us. This is nothing new. Darkness is our currency, the way that glitter is our currency, the way that dollar bills are the sacrament. The way we share sweat in communion, nipple tassels mapping our cycles of joy or fury, of grief. In this temple, I bear witness to my siblings, my parents, my children, and everything is holy. Our feathers, our mulberry silks commune with curvy scars, thick hips, and sore shoulders. This is the way. I am nothing more than a maenad in ecstasy over flesh and fanfare. I praise the whip of pants freed by snap buttons. I praise the jiggle of a butt cheek with the bass drop. Let us join hands in praise of the shablam, the milkshake, for every shield of leather and tulle and fishnet, my luminaries. The night has always belonged to us, and so we rage. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rita. That was wonderful. And there's lots of love in the chat as well. Now, I'm pleased to welcome our final reader of the evening, Ellen Bass. Ellen's work is legendary and widely known to this audience, so I'll just mention her most recent book, Indigo, and invite you to be transported by her poems. Ellen.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here with you all. Thank you for your wonderful readings that have been just inspiring, exciting, um, and deeply moving. And thank you to all of you who are still carrying on with CALYX and Sinister Wisdom. We were just talking before everybody came in that I published my first poem 43 years ago in CALYX, and that was really fun to think about it being that far back. So I'm very happy to be reading with you tonight. I'm going to read some poems that are a little bit more recent that are not yet in a book. And this first one is called Laundry. The babies dragged the sheets to the kitchen, and now she's stuffing them into the washer. One hand lifting a wad of yellow cotton, the other reaching down for more and more. Breathing heavy, she's feeding vast swaths by the armful, bent halfway into the mouth of the machine. A strip of skin exposed where her shirt's ridden up, an edge of diaper sticking out of her pants. Who can watch a child and not feel fear, like static in the background, or a tinnitus you try to ignore? This morning in the Times, I saw the galaxy Leda 2046648, each spiral arm distinct and bright against the dark ink. Light from a billion years ago, just as the first multicellular life emerged on Earth. What are the not quite 2 years of this intent creature in the sweep of time? Her quadriceps and scapula, the alveoli of her lungs, 27 bones of her hand that evolved from the fin of an ancient fish, and her scribbly hair sticking up from her first ponytail. When she was in her mother's body, the California fires turned the air a smoky topaz, and the sun glowed orange on the kitchen wall. Last month, the floodwaters rose and seeped under the door. Still, there must be time for this. To watch her, hands deep into the doing. She's wedded to the things of this world. When she stands, her sleeve slips down, and she pushes it up like any woman at work. This next poem I wrote because I was invited to participate by writing a poem for an anthology of poems in response to songs by Taylor Swift that was edited by Christy Frederick Dougherty, and it's called Invisible Strings. And my poem was written in response to Taylor Swift's song, Fearless. And I I wrote many, 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 many attempts before I could manage this poem, but I finally got it, so I'm happy to share it. It's called Midnight Ruby. Happiness writes in white ink on a white page, someone once said. So perhaps not even you will be able to read this. But I don't care. I'm remembering for the pleasure of remembering when you lived in a tent in a rhododendron forest. 100,000 blossoms with names like scintillation, boule de neige, midnight ruby, honey butter. You propped a propane stove on a milk crate, set a tiny table by the pallet on the floor. You ran extension cords from a pole in the empty parking lot, so we had light. It was chilly, early spring, not another soul there. We were so new that when you knelt behind me and kissed my neck as I was stirring a soup, I was stunned. And there was a shower that took quarters, and we divined how to slide a knife into the works so the silver rained back into our palms, and we could stand in an endless extravagance of hot, hot water, washing each other's hair, the slick curves of our bodies, tight with youth and desire. Only the owls heard our cries. Now we're old. I have to hold the railing to get up the stairs. But there's a bruise at the edge of my lip. Your teeth, last night. This is a poem called Wildlife. The woman who was saving iguanas opened the cage of the newest arrival and asked if I wanted to hold him. She showed me how to slip my forearm under his scaly belly and bring him to my chest, not unlike soothing a colicky baby, though the iguana showed no distress and breathed evenly against my body, not cold, not warm, as if he didn't mind being suspended in a stranger's arms, as if nothing could surprise him in the tumble of the world he'd been swept up into. The iguana was strapped into a thin black harness that made him look like a leather man from the Castro, an old queer with spiked hair and his wrinkled dewlap. I'd had a bad day, well, really a bad year, and the one before that wasn't good either. My child wasn't talking to me, and I'd stopped talking to everyone else. The iguana was still as a monk in prayer. All that moved were his ruched eyelids, which opened and closed over his orange eyes. His chest filled and emptied with the dry, hot air we shared. I thought to myself, even this is something. And this next poem is called Oh Honey, Oh Baby. And I'm thinking that maybe it will be the title of my next book, Oh Honey, Oh Baby. I think it would be a good title. My daughter's in the cardiac ICU, a team of doctors, hands moving over her, swift, precise, as I choose the wines for my son's wedding. And the baby points to watermelon on the counter and cobbles her syllables into warm. Her eyelashes so long, they look like some kind of gorgeous frilled underwater creatures. The ICD in my daughter's chest shocked her 6 times before the ambulance got there. They say it's like being kicked by a horse. She started with, I'm okay, but the way my mother taught us to introduce terror. And she'll probably be okay. She probably will. She called when I was wheeling the baby back from the bakery. The baby was gnawing on a hunk of croissant, and its buttery flecks dropped to her chest, gold and soundless, in the din of the traffic on Mission. Oh, honey, oh, baby, I kept repeating, as though the words could long jump all the cities between us. In our yard, my wife is filling 5-gallon buckets with gravel to hold up the poles of the chuppah that will make a home for the bride and groom as satin streamers lift in the winds. My daughter is happy she can watch the ceremony from her room. If she's too weak, she'll see the video later. The baby will wear pink shoes and toss yellow petals with a vigorous huff, the way we taught her to throw scratch for the chickens. My son will kiss his wife, and I will watch them kiss, and kiss again. A poet once wrote, despair and praise are like the rising of 2 wings that beat together. Evidently, I am flying. Thank you.
Thank you so much. What an extraordinarily pleasurable evening this has all been. 50 years of publishing is not something that happens alone. It happens in community. And we are so grateful to be a part of the CALYX community and to share that with you this evening. Please subscribe to CALYX and support their publishing work. We're putting the subscription link in the chat. Thank you to Anne and Brenna for the conversation, and to all of our readers, Amy, Allison, Rita, Laura, and Ellen, for sharing your words and your presence with us this evening. Special thanks to Mel and Max, who did a great job this evening, and my apologies to you all for just sliding in at the last minute because of some travel delays. Thank you to our sustainers and subscribers. Your ongoing support lifts up all voices and readers across generations. The video from this evening will be available at Sinister Wisdom's YouTube channel tomorrow or Thursday. I invite you to join us on Tuesday, April 21st for a special celebration of the new issue of Sinister Wisdom here, Sinister Wisdom 140 Golden. It starts our 50th anniversary celebration in print and is going in the mail to all subscribers this week. As promised, we have another new song for us. Tonight, we will dance to a version of Bread and Roses by Women of the World. Max, share the song. When the song ends, we end the Zoom session.
As we come marching, marching, unnumbered women dead, go crying through our singing, their ancient strife for bread, small art to love and beauty, their trudging spirits new. Yes, it is bread we fight for, but we fight for roses too. As we go marching, marching, we're standing proud and tall. The rising of the women means the rising of us all. No more the drudge and idler tend that toil where one reposes, but a sharing of life's glories, bread and roses, bread and roses.
Thank you all so much for joining us. We will see you next time.